Sleeping Beauty. Once upon a time, there was a king and queen in one of the most beautiful countries in the world. Soon the queen had a little girl who was so beautiful that the king could not stop looking at her. He said he would throw a great party and invited all the fairies too. All the guests were having a good time. There were golden plates, forks, knives, and spoons in front of them. Suddenly, the old fairy, whom they forgot to invite, came to the feast. The old fairy got too angry and threatened them. After the feast was over, the guests gave all their best gifts to the little girl. One of the fairies understood that the old fairy was going to do something bad, and she hid behind the curtain. Just as 11 of them had wished their blessing for her, a great noise was heard in the courtyard. The old fairy cried out, "The king's daughter shall, in her 15th year, be wounded by a spindle." Everybody was very upset when they heard her words. The king and the queen did not know what to do. The old fairy had already flown away. Then the fairy behind the curtain, who had not yet given her gift, came forward. She said that the curse could be broken, so she wished that the king's daughter, when the spindle wounded her, should not really die, but should only fall asleep for 100 years. However, the king hoped to save his daughter from the threatened evil, and he ordered that all the spindles in the kingdom should be collected. The princess became very beautiful at the age of 16. One day, while she was wandering around in the palace, she noticed a room which she hadn't seen before. There was an old lady spinning. The princess had never seen such a thing before. She asked what the woman was doing and took the spindle. She began to try and spin, but scarcely had she touched it before the fairy's prophecy was fulfilled. The spindle wounded her, and she fell down on the ground. The woman couldn't understand anything. She called the guard immediately. There was nothing to do. Her mother and father were very sad. They tried to find a way to wake her up, but it was impossible. However, she was not dead, but had only fallen into a deep sleep. The king and the queen were believed that one day their daughter would wake up. The 12th fairy also heard what had happened. She wanted to visit the king as soon as possible. She thought she could do some more good things. The fairy arrived at the palace in a short time. She told the king her plan, and then she touched the palace with her magic wand. Everybody and everything in the palace fell into a deep sleep. The king and the queen were near their daughter, and they fell asleep too. According to the fairy's plan, everybody was going to wake up at the same time as the princess. During the long years, everything changed around: people, plants, animals, nature. But as time stopped in the palace, everything was the same. Only a large hedge of thorns soon grew around the palace, and every year it became higher and thicker. After 100 years passed, one day a prince was hunting around the palace. He saw the castles and asked about it. Everybody told him the same story. A peasant told him a very interesting story. Many years ago, my father told me, and he had heard from his grandfather, that there is a beautiful palace stood behind it, and a beautiful princess lay in it asleep, with all her court. An evil fairy cursed her. Everybody and everything is sleeping with her, and only one prince can break the curse. Many princes had come and had tried to break through the thicket, but that they had all stuck fast in it. Maybe you are the one who can break it. Without thinking, the young prince said, "I will go and save the sleeping princess." And he went to the palace. While he was thinking of cutting the thorns, something strange happened. All the branches let him walk. It was like a message. Then he went on without fear. At last, he came to the garden of the palace. There was a big silence in the garden, and everybody was like a monument. When he looked at them closely, he understood that they were sleeping. He had to find the princes immediately. Then he climbed the stairs. There were 2 guards in front of the room of the princess. They were sleeping too, He opened the door of the room in which the princess was, and there she was, laying fast asleep on a bed. She looked so beautiful that he could not take his eyes off her. So he stooped down and gave her a kiss. The moment he kissed her, she opened her eyes and awoke. The curse was broken. Soon, the king, queen, and all the court awoke. A new life started again. The prince told the beautiful princess everything. The princess could not believe her ears. The princess, "I slept 100 years, and you woke me up, right?" "Yes," said the prince, and made a proposal. She accepted his proposal. The king and the queen were happy. The prince and the princess got married. There was a tremendous wedding feast, and they lived happily together for the rest of their lives.